border backlash grows, Canadians demand change as Conservatives gain ground. Canada's immigration system has re-entered the national spotlight following revelations that over 17,000 individuals with criminal records have been granted entry into the country over the last decade. While the federal government insists these approvals are only given after thorough vetting and proof of rehabilitation, the policy lacks critical safeguards. Immigration officials have admitted they do not screen applicants based on the type of crime committed or the applicant's country of origin. For many Canadians, this is not just a bureaucratic oversight. It's a major failure that raises questions about national security, community safety, and public trust. The issue lands at a moment when public anxiety over crime is escalating. In communities from Vancouver to Halifax, Canadians are reporting a disturbing rise in smash-and-grab robberies, assaults, home invasions, and car theft. These are no longer isolated events, but growing patterns. Local businesses are shuddering under the weight of repeated theft and vandalism, while residents are expressing fear over what feels like a breakdown in law and order. Stories of repeat offenders being arrested and released within days, or even hours, are circulating so often that many now consider it a normal part of Canadian life. That normalization is deeply troubling and has left many people wondering where the accountability lies. Prime Minister Mark Carney, freshly sworn in after winning the snap April 28 election, is under mounting pressure to respond. His rise to leadership brought hope for calm, competent governance, especially following economic turbulence and global uncertainty. However, this particular challenge, immigration linked to public safety, is forcing Carney to confront a more emotional and politically charged crisis. His early attempts at offering technocratic, balanced solutions are clashing with public demands for swift, decisive action. Carney may be known for his financial acumen, but now he's being judged on his ability to protect Canadian streets and rebuild confidence in the justice system. Pierre Poilievre, now leading the Conservative opposition, has capitalized on this moment by aligning himself directly with the growing frustrations of everyday Canadians. He points to cases like that of Jacob Funk, a repeat offender arrested dozens of times, to argue that the system is broken and that liberal policies are enabling a revolving door of criminal behavior. Poilievre's message is blunt and emotionally charged. Stop protecting criminals and start protecting Canadians. His words resonate strongly in suburban ridings, small towns, and among younger voters who feel disillusioned by rising costs, crime, and a government that seems out of touch. Real-life examples are driving the conversation in a way that data and statistics never could. One particularly shocking case involved a man in Vancouver with a long criminal record who was arrested after breaking into a woman's home, only to be released within a day. Weeks later, that same individual was charged with assaulting a young teenage girl and robbing a bank. To those watching from the outside, the entire sequence of events is enraging. It reflects what many believe is a justice system more concerned with legal process than human safety. And it's adding fuel to the idea that Canada's institutions are no longer aligned with the needs of its citizens. In response, Carney's government has introduced the Strong Borders Act, or Bill C-2, a piece of legislation that aims to overhaul immigration enforcement. The bill proposes tighter asylum regulations, faster deportations for known criminals, and new measures to curb fraudulent refugee claims. Supporters of the legislation believe it's a necessary correction to years of overly permissive policies. Critics, however, warn that it may compromise Canada's international obligations and risk punishing legitimate asylum seekers. The debate has exposed a growing divide, not just between political parties, but between competing visions of Canadian identity, one rooted in compassion and openness, the other in control and security. The Liberals argue they're trying to strike the right balance, tightening entry requirements without abandoning humanitarian commitments. They insist that the bill won't harm genuine refugees or immigrants, but will instead target those who pose a clear threat. Yet in the court of public opinion, this balance is proving hard to defend. Many Canadians are no longer satisfied with promises of robust screening. They want to see real change reflected in tangible outcomes: fewer repeat offenders on the streets, stronger coordination with police, and immediate consequences for violent crimes. Meanwhile, Poilievre continues to hammer the message that the Liberal government is deflecting blame onto provinces and judges. He cites evidence from police forces in Ontario and British Columbia, where officials claim that current federal laws leave them powerless to hold habitual offenders. In the House of Commons, this tension erupted during fiery exchanges between Conservatives and Liberal ministers, with Conservatives accusing the government of catch-and-release policies and the Liberals responding that provincial governments need to increase jail capacity. To many voters, this back-and-forth sounds like finger-pointing while their communities remain vulnerable. The emotion behind this debate is real. It stems from a deeper feeling that something fundamental is being lost, a sense of safety, fairness, and social cohesion. Whether it's business owners who've had their storefronts destroyed for the third time or families who no longer let their kids walk home alone, there's a growing belief that the system no longer reflects the values of hardworking Canadians. And as these sentiments grow stronger, they are increasingly shaping how people vote, organize, and speak out. Carney still holds a significant advantage among moderate and urban voters who value his steadiness, especially in economic matters. But his leadership will be tested by how he manages this crisis, not just by passing legislation, but by showing that he understands the fear and frustration gripping communities. His success or failure on this front could determine whether the Liberal Party can hold on to its support, or whether it opens the door for a Conservative resurgence in the years ahead. What's most striking is how normalized all of this has become. Stories that would have sparked national outrage just a few years ago are now met with weary resignation. Another assault, another break-in, another offender back on the street. It's a cycle that's fraying the social fabric. Canadians aren't just asking for political change. They're asking for peace of mind. They're asking to feel safe in their own country again. And if that basic need isn't met, the political backlash will only grow. The debate over immigration, crime, and accountability is no longer confined to Parliament Hill or op-eds. It's playing out in living rooms, in grocery stores, and at bus stops. It's shaping the future of Canadian politics in real time. And as the country watches how Carney and his government respond, one thing is clear: the old status quo is no longer acceptable. Whether Canada chooses a path of reform, retrenchment, or reinvention remains to be seen, but the urgency of the moment can no longer be ignored.